Hi, I'm Yinka, and this is The Hurt Locker, a podcast where we open a door into men's mental health. Coming up. Did you ever ask yourself the question, why me? Aren't I lovable?
Every night, every single night. And he turned round to me, a 9-year-old boy, and said, "You're the man of the house now."
Whoa. Tell me, how does that feel, just thinking about that?
Like, I couldn't stop crying. I was like blubbering.
Brilliant.
It felt like somebody had been sitting on my chest. And then when I cried, this just release was just insane.
You're listening to The Hurt Locker, the podcast that opens a door on men's mental health. And for tonight's guest, we're pleased to host comedian Louie Green. Louie, welcome.
Hello, mate. How are you?
All good here. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. Not too bad. Typical comedian. I'm on the side of a road recording a podcast, waiting to get to me gig. So all good fun.
So you're in the middle. I'm the sandwich in between life and going to the gig this evening. Then yes.
Yeah, pretty much. But luckily, I ain't got too far to go. So you've got me for a good amount of time.
Cool. Thank you and welcome. I'm not sure what Tim told you about the Hurt Locker. So why did you agree to come on tonight?
To be honest with you, anything that raises awareness for men's mental health is a good thing. Like, we don't talk about it enough. So I thought, you know what? Let's give it a go. Let's see what it's all about, and we'll go from there.
Cool. Thank you for being brave anyway. So for the benefit of our listeners, tell them, who is Louie Green?
So I'm a stand-up comedian from a working class background. This sounds like a profile more than anything. I'm 36 years old. I've been through a fair amount in life. Grew up in foster care. Came out of foster care. Started up normal life. You know, that whole thing. Became a comedian. Love it more than anything. Had a near-death experience in 2021. Which completely changed my outlook, and especially around talking about mental health. So that's me. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. You said foster care and then you started normal life. If it's okay with you, tell us a little bit about foster care. How did that materialise?
So my dad left me mum when I was 9, and I was a bit of a handful. So mum was a single mum for 3 boys, and she had a 9-week-old daughter as well, because my dad left early. And mum just couldn't cope. So it's a bit different now. There's probably a bit more support and stuff, but they kind of just turned around to my mum and said, you know, like, we're gonna, like, which one goes in foster care? And it was me, because I was the pain in the bum, basically. But I'm okay with that. I don't blame her. You know, she's a good woman. It was a difficult time. You know, I don't really blame my dad either, because my dad's still with the lady that he left my mum for. And I'm a firm believer you never know when you're going to fall in love. So it's kind of just it was one of those things where a lot of circumstances happened all at once, which led to me going into foster care. So it was tough.
How long were you in foster care for?
About 4 years. Yeah, 4 years, I think, in total. So 9 till I was 13.
And then did you come back to the family home, or were you with foster parents?
I moved in with another family member. I moved in with my nan. Lived with her for about a year, and then then moved back in with my mum, because my mum was in a stronger place to be able to support us all then. So yeah, it was an interesting time. It's tough growing up in foster care, especially when, like, you're separated from your siblings as well, because it can grow. It didn't for me, but it can grow a hate, I think, that doesn't need to be there. It could have been managed differently at the time.
Okay, so that's what I'm going to ask you. You're 36 now, yes.
Yeah.
So that time growing up, that period of time in foster care, did you ever ask yourself the question, why me? Aren't I lovable?
Every night. Every single night. And I suppose the one thing I have taken away from that is I have abandonment issues now. So I'm with a fantastic partner, you know, a fiance. I've got 2 wonderful children, but I have to have constant reassurance to her. from her that she loves me. She never shows any signs that she doesn't love me, but in my head, it's kind of like, oh, does she? You know, there's always that doubt. So yeah.
And how does that doubt manifest itself?
It starts off as an anxiety. It might be. This is going to sound so needy, but it might be the fact that we got up in the morning.
Go on.
Yeah, it might be a fact that like we got up in the morning and she didn't give me a good morning kiss, for instance, or it could be I'm gigging away and I haven't seen her, and that's when it starts. It starts off as an anxiety, and then the mind starts overthinking everything, and you start panicking, thinking, or I start panicking, thinking she's going to leave me, and actually none of that is the case. Do you know what I mean? We're a really strong couple, but I think a lot of that leads back from my foster care, and it's certainly I've been through counselling and stuff like that, and it certainly was something that the counsellor picked up on as well.
Well, and that was the question I was going to ask you. Had you had counselling, and did it help you not only see but help you to manage some of those abandonment issues?
Massively. I'm nowhere near as bad as I was. Counselling's a huge thing. I think you should be entitled to counselling once a year. I think you should be given the opportunity to talk through things.
You know what? You're a man after my own heart. I always say to people, do you drive? And if they say yeah, I say, well, do you take your car in for the MOT? And they'll say yeah. And then I say, well, why don't you go and have therapy once a year and have a mental health check-in?
I will be completely honest with you. I only started counselling probably something mad happened for how long ago was that now? Yeah, 5 years ago, and I witnessed somebody attempt to take their own life, and it got right in my head. And at the time, I was working for somewhere where I got free counselling, so they put me through counselling, and ever since that, I'm like, counselling's the best thing in the world.
Okay, so tell me what was your attitude towards therapy and that sense of feeling vulnerable right before you stepped through the door for that counselling room? And what's your attitude been subsequent to that?
To be quite honest with you, I think like I grew up in that atmosphere where crying is seen as a weakness. You know, those moments where your parents would be like, stop crying or I'll give you something to cry about, all of them sort of things. Do you know what I mean? So crying was always a sign of weakness, and talking about things was like it was our business. We didn't need to air our dirty laundry. That, you know, what happened in our house stayed in our house, and I think that's probably something that's really common that manifests in a lot of people, particularly men. Men see it as a weakness, and I remember going through the doors of the counselling, and I sat down there with the lady. The lady was fantastic, to be fair, and she just listened to me waffle on about everything and anything apart from the issue. And then after about 3 sessions, she sort of stood there and went, should we talk about your real issue now? And I was like, okay, what's that then?
That's making me laugh so much, because I can just imagine you giving this narrative about this, that, and the other, but the elephant's in the room, and she saw right through that.
She said to me from day one, I knew that she said, obviously I didn't know what your history was, but like from day one, she knew that I was from that background of not showing weakness. And I can still remember it. On the third session, we sat down at the end, and she said that to me, and she was like, well, let's talk about you being in foster care, and let's talk about the loss of your granddad, and all of a sudden, like, I couldn't stop crying. I was like blubbering.
Brilliant.
And I kept apologizing, and she was like, you don't need to apologize.
Brilliant.
So yeah, and crazy.
And how did that feel, just having that safe space to talk about your granddad, to talk about the trials and tribulations of foster care? What did it mean to you to be able to have that space?
I've never had anything like it before. Like, I can't. I describe it to everyone as the same thing. And like, it felt like somebody had been sitting on my chest, and then when I cried, this just release was just insane. And yeah, from that point on, I couldn't wait to get to my counselling session to have a good cry.
Brilliant. Can I ask, how long were you in therapy for? And have you been back since?
Yeah, so I try and go every year now. I'm in a fortunate enough position where I can, and this is why I think it should be available on the NHS, because not every counselling's not cheap.
Yes.
So I go every year, but I think I was in 3 months of counselling. Because we had a lot to unpick.
Yeah.
So yeah, I love it. I can't recommend it enough to people.
Thank you, and thank you for sharing that with our listeners. So tell me about foster care in of itself. That must have been really isolating, lonely.
To be quite honest, I'm not sure if it was it wasn't lonely. It wasn't lonely because when you're in a foster home, you're normally in a foster home with there's a couple of situations. So you're either with a family where you might be the only child, but normally they have children of their own. So you're kind of like brought into a makeshift family, if you like. And then when you're in a children's home, which I did spend a bit of time in a children's home as well, that's a whole different ball game, because you're like the lost boys. Do you know what I mean? There's a whole bunch of kids in that home that are being looked after by somebody who's being paid to look after them, and it's essentially their job. So you kind of get a camaraderie between you and the other foster children.
Was it ever times?
So I wouldn't ever say I felt alone.
Okay. Sorry. Was it ever times you wanted to run away and not be there?
That was what started all off at home. So I was running away from home. But no, I never really. I wouldn't say I ever really ran. I didn't ever not want to be there. Do you know what I mean? Like, at the end of the day, I got a roof over my head. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I wouldn't say I ever wanted to run away, but I was definitely probably was a bit of a troublemaker and thought, well, hang on, I'm in a new area now. What trouble can I cause there, sort of thing?
Okay, you say troublemaker, and I've paused there and I've looked at myself, because you say you were running away from home, and there was a period when I was a kid, about 9, 10, 11, I was running away from home, and I don't mind sharing it with you. It just didn't feel as if, for me at the time, it didn't feel as if it was the right place for me to be. And I don't know how it was for you, the reasons why you ran away from home.
I think the reason I used to run away was because I don't really. I suppose it was for me, it was a defiance thing. Like, mum would be home at 8, and then I'd run away, and I wouldn't turn up to the next morning, and I think it was a defiance thing. It was kind of like, I'm my own person. I'm going to do what I want. You're not in control of my life. When actually, she's me mum. She was exactly what she was. She was in control of my life. So yeah, it was more of a defiance thing for me rather than a not belonging.
Okay. And when you did eventually go back to the family home, how was it for you then?
Like, mum would always be like, obviously pleased to see me, because she's, as a parent now, I can see what I did to my mum. You know, like I terrified her. You know, the worst fear of any parent is your kid not coming home, right?
Yeah.
So like I was terrified. I was terrified, and it makes, like, even now it gives me like a sicky feeling in my stomach that I would have made my mum feel like that. But you know, she always welcomed me with open arms. But I think it got to the point where I'd caused so much what's the word? So much disturbance in the house. It was probably better for my brothers and sisters that I did go and stay elsewhere until I managed to sort myself out a little bit.
And your siblings, where were you in the pecking order?
The oldest.
Okay.
I was top dog.
But being top dog comes with a lot of responsibilities.
Yeah. Well, to be quite honest with you, like, my dad said something to me when he left, and I'll never ever forget this, and I still to this day remember it. I remember him coming in telling us that he was leaving, and he turned around to me, a 9-year-old boy, and said, "You're the man of the house now."
Whoa.
Yeah.
Come on, tell me, how does that feel, just thinking about that?
Like, like as an adult, I sit there thinking like that is so much pressure to put on a 9-year-old boy. And actually, as a 9-year-old boy, I didn't really understand what that meant. Like all I knew is I was now the oldest male in the house, and my dad, my family are my dad's side of the family are all from an East End background where the oldest male was always like put in a bubble, if you like, or put on a pedestal. It's just it was a weird situation to be in, and it was overwhelming. And I think that's what happened is like my emotions just got overwhelmed, and I didn't know how to process what I'd been told, and so I just rebelled.
You didn't want that crown. You didn't want that responsibility.
Nah, not at 9. Do you know what I mean? It's madness, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. And can I ask, in terms of your relationship with your siblings, what's that like now, and what was it like then?
They were the ones I missed the most back then. Like I wanted to get back to my siblings because like we were thick as thieves, me and my brothers. Like we were like one ins all in sort of thing.
Yeah.
We looked out for each other. And then with my 9-week-old sister as well, there's always that whole protective instinct with her brother. So like while I was in foster care, my aim was to always get back to my siblings because I missed them massively. And as we've got older, the foster care has probably brought us closer together. We're really quite a tight knit unit now. Being the eldest was, I suppose, it gave me. There's always a protective instinct of being the eldest. Growing up, like me and my brothers, we were always close, and we were always like one in, all in sort of thing. Like we all looked after each other, and we were protective over our little sister. So to suddenly be removed from that situation was difficult.
And whilst you were in foster care, did you still maintain contact with your siblings?
Yeah, I got to go to dinner. Like, so to start with, no. But after a few weeks, they then started to say that I could go around for tea, and
Nice.
see them sort of like, I think it was once a week I was allowed around for tea.
Okay, so there wasn't that complete alienation then, which is good.
No, there wasn't. To be fair, I still saw my mum a fair bit, and one of my this is mad. One of my foster carers actually lived around the corner from my mum's house.
Okay.
So actually, this whole thing about me going into foster care was mental because I could pop home whenever I wanted anyway. They soon realised and moved me out of that one, though.
Funny. I am going to jump all over the place then, but I know you speak about abandonment issues and that, but that thing about love, what does it mean to you? You say in your relationship with your partner, you got kids and that it's a tight bond, which is always pleasing to hear. But did that help you to, or has it been since counselling, you've been able to express how you feel more with your own siblings and as well as your partner?
Yeah, it's definitely been since counselling. So the counselling lined up with me meeting my new partner.
Okay.
So we kind of met at a similar time that I started the counselling, and for quite a while, I was a bit of a, I was very indecisive on whether I could have a relationship or not because I never felt safe enough to have a relationship.
So can I ask, was that you checking yourself, not being good enough to be in a relationship, to have somebody?
Yeah, and not wanting to hurt somebody else around like my insecurities. So yeah, there was quite a few times where we'd be seeing each other for like a course of a time, and then we, just as it started to get a little bit serious, I'd be like, I can't do this. And I did that a few times, and to be honest with you, I'm lucky she stayed with me because I wouldn't have put up with it. But yeah, I think that was all around that abandonment issues, like protecting myself, like if I can't get too close to somebody because, do you know what I mean?
They're going to leave you.
Yeah.
That's hard, though. And I suppose within all of that as well, the issue about trust comes into play.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah. Yeah,
And being
I'm not. It takes a lot for me to trust somebody.
okay. Can I ask about your granddad? It feels like you
Yeah.
were close to him.
Yeah, massively. So you've always got you've got your dad in your life, and my dad's always been around. Like it wasn't like he left home and we never saw him again or anything like that. He's always been around, but you always have that. I always think that when you're a male, you always have another male role model in your life that is just that, probably that little bit more than what your dad was.
Yes.
And you might meet that person later in life, or they might already be in the family. Mine was my granddad, so my safest space in the whole world was around my grandparents' house. So
Okay.
I learned to, and I think I learned to be a man from my granddad as well.
Okay, I'm intrigued. What does that mean, learning to be a man?
Like the silly little things like etiquette, the way you treat other people, like morals. Like he would be like, he used to say things that always used to make me laugh, like manners are the least expensive thing in the world, but they'll get you the furthest in life. And it was like little things like that he installed in me that made me realise that, do you know what? Yeah, actually, this is, they do cost nothing. Do you know what I mean?
100%.
Yeah, and then it's just those little things, those indicators of a good human being, really. And I got a lot of them from my granddad.
Okay. And was he the type of man that would tell you that he loved you?
Absolutely not. He was an ex-Royal Marine, hard as nails, but at the same time as gentle. Actually, now, do you know what? I don't ever recall him saying he loves me, but I never ever doubted the love that he had for us, if that makes sense. He always showed it.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. It makes perfect sense. Did your dad ever say that he loved you?
Not that I can remember. He probably did, but not that I can remember. Like he was way more like he's not a bad man. He was always a nice bloke, and he always worked hard for his family and stuff like that. And he did what he did, but you never know when you're going to meet the person you're meant to be with, and that's what happened to him, which unfortunately left this catastrophic situation at home. I mean, he's a fantastic granddad and all of that sort of stuff now, which is crazy. But yeah, he was. I never ever didn't. Excuse me. I never ever didn't feel loved by him. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Do you sit off sometimes just observing them with your kids, wondering what's going on here? How come you didn't give that to me?
Every day I see him with him. Like, my kids idolise him. He walks through the door, they go crazy, and I do sit there and go, where was that for me? But equally, my kids need that, so let bygones be bygones and all of that.
So you don't bear grudges then, no?
Life's too short, man. I've had way too much stress in my life to bear grudges. I don't need them as well.
Life is too short. You're not wrong there.
I was going to say, my granddad was like, so it's actually my granddad that birthed my love of comedy as well.
Go on.
So,
who did he introduce you to?
Well, so whenever we used to go to my granddad's, you'd put the cartoons on and he'd go, excuse me, I'm going to swear here, but he'd go, we're not watching this old shit. And then he'd put on something like Morecambe and Wise, and we'd sit there, and I wouldn't have a clue why he's laughing, but I knew he was laughing, and I knew that I liked that feeling.
Yes.
So, and then from then on, that's where my love for comedy started.
Okay, and we will touch on your style, your approach to comedy, and who influences you. How old were you when your granddad passed?
I've got to work this out now. I was 29.
That's pretty recent then. We're talking 7 years ago.
Yeah, definitely. I was working away. I was in Poland, and he got diagnosed with dementia a few years before that, and it was quite a long, dragged out sort of symptoms, and he had a real difficult time with it. He ended up on a psychiatric ward, and I got the phone call, look, you need to fly home. He's not well. He might not make it out. And I went there with all the family. There was loads of us there, and I just couldn't bear seeing him. And then I went up. Me and my granddad used to have this thing where we'd drink rum together.
Yes.
And I'm getting emotional now, so apologies. But
No, nothing to apologise for.
Yeah. So I decided that I was going to make an appointment to go up to see my granddad because I knew his end of life. And I went up probably about 11 o'clock at night and I took a bottle of rum. And me and him had our last ever drink together and he died the following morning.
Props to you, lad. Props to you.
So, yeah, it was tough.
And that still resonates with you now. I can hear that in your voice.
Yeah, it does. He was probably the first person close to me that I'd lost as well. So for him to be probably arguably the most important person in my life as well, to lose him first. And it's still like the hardest thing for me is I sit there and watch my kids and I'm like, I just wish you saw the man who was responsible for making like me who I am.
Yes.
So yeah.
Thank you for sharing that.
No, appreciate that.
Thank you. So you're back home after foster caring and that.
Yep.
Are you in school? Or have you jibbed school?
No,
Okay.
no. I always went to school. I used to get like I think they call it expelled quite a lot.
Yeah.
I was never really naughty. I was just a bit of a joker, really. I just did things that I shouldn't have done that would make people laugh. And that was where it was at, really. I was never malicious. I've never been a malicious child. It was always just basically, if you said to me, this will be a laugh, I'd do it.
You're the one who would push it?
Yeah.
Always?
Yeah, I was. You know, like silly little things that when you look back on some of them are not so silly. But yeah, I was just, you read all my reports, every one of them says the class clown. So.
Yes. And so you left school, and what then?
So interestingly, I've got this weird anecdote where I told my career advisor that I wanted to be a stand-up comedian, and my careers advisor just went.
And they said, "Stop being a joker." Yeah, go on.
Yeah. Basically, he basically turned around to me and said, "Like, you've got to get a real job," and I was like, "Oh, okay." So I left school and I did lots and lots of other jobs. Didn't hold it down very well. And then I was 29 because I did it just after my granddad passed away. I just took up comedy and that's flown from there, really.
Okay, so that's just your granddad's passing being the catalyst for you in this burgeoning career then?
100%, yeah, definitely.
What was your 20s like then?
All right, I met a lady who I went on to marry, which was like, it was, looking back on it, it was a mistake. But I think it was like grabbing hold of that love type thing, like, oh, this, you know, almost like suffocating it, because you know that story, like, of Mice and Men, when you hold on to, when Lenny holds on to the little puppy too tight, and
yes.
I always think that's quite a metaphorical view of my relationship and my marriage. Like, you know, it was good in the beginning, but then I should have known a long time coming that it was going bad. But because I never felt that I could be loved by anybody else again, I held on to it and held on to it and held on to it until it was time that I had to walk away. So,
how was that walking away? You say it was tough. Why was it tough? I mean, was there a realization within yourself that you were metaphorically holding on too tightly? You were suffocating?
Yeah, there was. So it was an interesting sort of situation. So I had 2 stepchildren at the time, and they'd started to grow up. They were 16. I'd been in their lives for quite a long time, and then one day it was kind of like, it was interesting because this is where the abandonment issues come in again. We'd had a row, me and my ex-wife, and she went our way and stayed with a friend, but she didn't tell me where she was going. So like immediately I had those abandonment issues again, where like, oh well, she's gone now. What's that about? And then when she came back, it just, instead of accepting it this time, it manifested a hate in me that was just not healthy at all. And it got to a point where I've got to walk away now.
Why? What was going on? If I can dig deeper, were you controlling? Were you?
No. I to be quite honest with you, like, I've never been a controlling person or anything like that. It was just, it hadn't been right, and we probably never should have got married. And we did that whole typical thing where we probably got married when we shouldn't have, because we were trying to fix it. It just never been right. So
Yeah.
it wasn't like either of us did anything wrong. You know, she was never abusive towards me. I was never abusive towards her. It was just a case of it was never right, but we tried to make it right.
Yeah. So by being in the relationship together, there was a hope that you could both fix each other or fix how you felt.
Yeah, I think that's probably accurate.
And then after the fallout, what was the fallout like for you?
It was tough because there was an age gap between me and her. She was older than me, and I walked away with I walked away with nothing. I just said, like, I'm young enough to rebuild. I will literally, you have everything that we've got, everything we own. And I think I walked away with me golf clubs and and a bag of clothes.
And then you find yourself in a flat or a new house and that. And how was that for you starting again?
Moved back with my mum.
Okay.
Moved back with my mum. And then just from that point on, it was just like I lived with my mum for a couple of years, and then a couple of years later, I met the lady I'm with now. It's really weird because I met her quite a few times over the course of my life. We kept bumping into each other, and yeah, then kind of just grew into something from there. So it's been quite natural between me and my partner now. There's never anything forced. It's really nice.
It's effortless, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely, 100%.
That period of time when you moved back to your mum's, was that like, did you press the fuck it button, as it were? Did you go into a self-destructive stage or?
Yeah, I started fighting and going out in a piss all the time, and
yes,
yeah, it weren't healthy. And it wasn't like, I think it was a release more than anything. And it wasn't like I was going out to start a fight. It was just a case of I was putting myself in situations I shouldn't have.
Yes.
Where I was just like, do you know what? Normally I'd have walked away from a situation, but this time I'm not going to.
Yeah.
Because I was kind of probably on a self-destruct mode a little bit.
How much did you not like yourself during that period?
A lot. I hated myself. So this was probably, so was 20. I'd planned to kill myself in 2019.
Okay.
I'd planned out how I was going to do it. I'd decided that, like, the world was better off without me.
Can I ask, Louie, how far or how soon after the ending of the relationship had that been? Or
probably about 7 or 8 months. It was a lot of it was stemmed from the loss of my granddad, and it was 2018 actually. The loss stemmed from the loss of my granddad, leaving her, the hate I had for myself because of the pain I'd caused somebody else. It was real tough, and I knew how I was going to do it. I'd completely planned to do it. I'd brought the stuff I needed to do it, and then somebody rang me and said, "Do you want to?" The morning I'd got it all sorted. Mum was going out. I was like, "Right, I'm doing it today." And then, just as my mum went out, probably about 5 minutes later, I was like, "Right, it's time to get ready." And my phone rang, and it was a friend of mine who just went, "I suppose you fancy nipping up to Braintree today, go shopping and that." And I was like, "Yeah, I am." And that was what stopped it. Like, I must have been the worst company that day. Genuinely, I look back at it now and I think, how the hell did you sit through having something to eat with me, going shopping, because I was miserable.
Okay, what's going through your mind as you're going shopping in Braintree?
It was like I kept thinking I need to get home because Mum will be back before long, and so we sat down and we were like, let's have some dinner. So we sat down in TGO Fridays and we were chatting away, and it was like I don't even know what it was, but something just switched me out of it. Something just went, you don't need to do this.
Okay.
And I swear to you, this day, like if that phone call hadn't came, we wouldn't be talking on this podcast.
Did you ever share that with your friend who called you that day that you were contemplating? You shared that with him?
He said he knew that I hadn't been right, and which is why he'd started spending a bit more time with me.
Oh, brilliant. Brilliant. Yeah. How does it feel talking about it now, looking back at that period of time?
Just that I say this to everyone now, like knowing where I was back then and where I am now, just it does get better. Like I am so lucky that I didn't follow through with what I was going to do, because I would never have had a daughter. I'd never be where I am now. You know, I'd never have got the privilege of going on the Hurt Locker podcast. You know, there's all these little things that I'm doing now that, like, I just, if something different, if I'd have been out, you think of it like this, my phone had been out of battery, or my phone had not been in service, or didn't have signal for that few minutes. Do you know what I mean? That could have been it.
That's powerful.
Yeah.
That's powerful.
I mean, it hasn't given me any, I'm not religious by any means or anything like that, but it's certainly given me like a fate feeling. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. And do you talk to your friends about where you were at? Obviously, this guy knows, the lad who phoned you up knows and all that, but do your other mates know? And do you, I dare say you look out for your other friends as well?
Massively. Like, I can tell when people are down now. They only found out. So I recorded a podcast, a mental health podcast, just after the incident, and that's when everybody found out. And and my partner, who I'm with now, the podcast got released just after we'd started seeing each other, and that's the first she knew about it as well. So I didn't like go singing from the rooftops that, you know, I'd nearly topped myself. But I now make sure people are aware that, you know, I'm a very happy man now, but I wasn't. So there's hope for anybody.
How have people's responses been to you?
Yeah, all been fine. A lot of them are a little bit over caring. They're like, "You're all right," you know, just like. Yeah.
Listen, it's better to be over caring than under caring.
100%, 100%.
You know, it really is. That's powerful. That's powerful. You mentioned yourself. Is it in relation to your thoughts of suicide, your near-death experience, or did you have something else that occurred in your life?
So my near-death experience was in 2021. I had my intestine exploded inside me, and I got sepsis, which led to me having a colostomy bag.
Okay. Oh my gosh.
So that was the near-death experience.
Okay. So how did? Go on. I just don't know where to begin on that.
So I was misdiagnosed with something. They kept telling me I had IBS when actually what I had was something called diverticular disease. It's very common in adults, really rare in young people. Yeah, so I got that, and I kept having belly aches. And then one night I woke up and I was like, I'm dying. And I thought I was being dramatic, but I didn't. And I rang an ambulance, and the ambulance came out, picked me up and took me to hospital. And it turned out that basically my bowels inside me, because of the swelling and the infection of the diverticulitis, the bowels opened, and I'd basically got poo leaking into my body. which then caused sepsis. And it was basically, you have a colostomy bag or you are going to die. And that was how it went.
Okay, but that's a no-brainer though as a decision, even though it's a dramatic change in your life. That's a no-brainer as a decision, isn't it, to have a colostomy bag or die?
Yeah, the way they told me was, you've got to have a colostomy bag, and I was like, I'm not having one. And then when they told me it was like colostomy bag or die, I was like, bag me up. Do you know what I mean?
How's that adjustment been for you though?
Really good, to be fair. Like, I don't have any of the stomach pains or anything like that anymore. I raise a lot of awareness, work with a lot of charities around it. And I got to meet my daughter because my partner was 6 months pregnant when all this went off. So if I hadn't have had the colostomy bag, I'd never have met my daughter. So,
gosh.
Yeah, mad.
My gosh.
Yeah, you're certainly getting your money's worth on this podcast, aren't you?
I've just got my head in my hands like that, thinking, oh my God.
Yeah, it's pretty turbulent life, mate.
Tim's just put up on the chat, a bag for life is part of your comedy material, as it were.
That's my show. Yeah, so I wrote a 1 hour show, and the show's called Louie Green, A Bag for Life. And the idea being that I had to accept the bag to sort of like experience the life that I've had since the bag, like me and my daughter, and the holidays that I've got to go on, and the experiences that I've got to have with my children and my partner. Like, if I didn't have this colostomy bag, I'd have had none of them. So that was the whole idea around the show. I did have a couple of other titles. It was either going to be Bag for Life or Stoma Comedian.
Maybe you could do that on the Edinburgh Fringe. Or
yeah, that's the plan. Take up to the Fringe. If you're a Sting fan, I'll call it Don't Stand Too Colostomy.
Oh, no. Don't. You're going to set Tim off. He's going to put some stuff in the chat now. He'll be coming up with one or two other ideas, I'm sure of it. But just going back to mental health and the suicide stuff, you said you've brought a witness as well.
Yeah, I do. I've got like a sixth sense on it now. Like, it's really weird because like I can pick out if somebody's not feeling great, and I never openly confront anyone about their mental health. So I won't go up to them and say, like, I can see you're struggling or anything like that. I just let them. I just kind of give them a little nudge and go, I'm here. Do you know what I mean?
Can I ask, Louis, why won't you be direct?
Not everyone's the same.
I know, but I'm always curious. Everybody's different, and I accept that. And we were talking to a researcher from Glasgow University yesterday, Susie Bennett, about language and language that lads employ when we're talking about our mental health and suicide, etc.
Yeah.
And your approach is, I can see you're struggling there, and I'm here.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you ask the question? Are you experiencing thoughts of suicides, or do you feel suicidal?
I think for me, when anyone asked me about my mental health, I openly denied it. Okay. So I'd sit there and say, like, no, I'm cool, I'm good, I'm fine. Laugh it off, the typical lad thing.
Yeah.
Whereas I think if somebody had gave me a little nudge and gone, if you need me, I'm here, maybe I'd have taken a bit more time to reflect on that and then gone back to them later on.
Absolutely. And is that what you find when you let people know that I can see you're struggling? Do you feel that lads do open up to you?
A lot more now. So I get a lot of, even with like my colostomy and stuff like that, because there's a lot of mental health around that as well.
Yeah.
But since I've been talking about it and being quite open about my mental health and stuff like that, even though a lot of it is based around my colostomy bag and accepting that, I do tend to get a lot of men reach out to me and say, like, you know, I'm struggling, and it might not be anything to do with a colostomy bag. You know, so I think the softly approach is always, it's the carrot before the stick. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely, yeah. No, and that's about knowing your audience and knowing the people that you're engaging with.
Yeah,
But I think,
definitely.
you know what? That's true testament to you as well about you in terms of your approachability and how people will gravitate towards you. You
Yeah,
make
I
it
hope so.
easy. No, you do. You make it easy for people to talk to you. I can feel that.
Yeah.
I can really, really feel that.
Appreciate that, man.
Tell me, just on the colostomy bag, etc. How many people in the UK are using a colostomy bag?
1 in every 335 at the moment.
Oh,
So
go
it's
on,
about 180,000.
180,000.
Yeah, and nearly every one of those surgeries is life-saving.
180,000. Okay. And so what's the profile about that in terms of raising awareness? What's being done currently?
There's not enough being done. There's some great charities out there like Colostomy UK and a few others and stuff. And they're working extremely hard, but there's still a lot of stigma around it. There's still a lot of unknown. People still think that they smell when you've got one, and they don't. People don't realise that they are life changing, life saving surgeries, and so for example, a lot of it is a lot of people apologise to me about it, and I'm like, well, why are you apologising? Because actually, for starters, you didn't do it to me, and secondly, without this, there is a lot of situations that I'd have never experienced. I'd have never met my daughter. I've got the opportunity to get remarried. I've got one of the most fantastic stepdaughters in the world. And all of these things I wouldn't have had without this colostomy bag. So why are you apologising to me? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Do you feel that there's a lot of people, men and women, that would, rather than have the colostomy bag, would suffer in silence and then ultimately die early, prematurely?
Lots. Yeah, lots. Yeah.
That's not
No.
okay. That's not okay. Louis, what next for you? You said you're gigging tonight and all of that. Have you ever considered you do your comedy and all that. Have you ever considered writing, say, a sitcom or anything like that?
Yeah, so I've got a sitcom in the works at the moment. I just love writing. Yeah, I'm sorry. I've got a sitcom in the works. I've got a children's book on the go, and I kind of live life on my terms now. Do you know what I mean? Like, yeah.
Brilliant. Brilliant. Can I ask, I'm putting it on your toes now, who's the most important person in your life?
I can't give you one. I've got three.
You can only pick one.
If I can only pick one, it'll have my partner, because she was like the seed of everything. So I wouldn't have had my daughter without my partner. I wouldn't have met my stepdaughter without my partner. So yeah.
What if I said you were wrong? What if I said that the most important person in your life is you?
Yeah. It's food for thought, innit?
I know you said that your partner's your seed, as it were, but ultimately you're the seed.
I was thinking outside of me.
Okay, so can you embrace you then?
Yeah, I can embrace me. I'm not a bad person. I'm all right, and do you know what I mean?
Definitely.
I always find it hard to sort of like, not because like I hate myself or anything like that, because I don't. I just always try and look around me to see what makes me better, and ultimately anything that makes me better is what I idolize. So
Thank you for sharing. Can I ask, moving into comedy, who's been your influences? Who tickled your funny bone at the beginning?
I got the stat.
Aside from
Yeah,
aside from Morecambe
I
and
got
Wise.
Billy Connolly's my man. Billy
Okay,
Connolly all day long. Like,
okay. Louie Green, comedian. Thank you for being an excellent guest on the Hurt Locker podcast.
appreciate that, man.
Stay safe. The Hurt Locker is a safe space for our guests to openly share their mental health experiences. If you have been affected by any of the content in this recording, then please reach out for support. If it is an emergency, dial 999. If you would like to talk to somebody today, then please call the Samaritans on 116 123. Stay safe. Thanks for listening to this episode of The Hurt Locker. please give us a rating or share with another listener. You can also follow us on Instagram and Facebook at The Hurt Locker Pod.